Hey everybody, it's Maggie from Personal Euphoria with today's plank story. Of course, if you don't want to do plank, you don't have to. Today what I'd recommend is do a little wrist stretch. So you want your elbow pointing down and then you use one hand to pull your other fingers down as far as feels good. And you should feel a stretch through the back of your forearm, and then you can flip over and do the other side. And you can do each hand if you want, and then you can just do some wrist circles, make fists, and stretch the fingers, not just straight, but like as far back as you can. So hand, finger, and a little wrist action. All right, so many years ago, actually, one of our favorite trips, Matt and I went to Ireland. But the whole trip wound up a little chaotic for lots of reasons. One being we flew JFK to Heathrow to Dublin, and that was the day that they thwarted that terrorist attack in Heathrow, and we stopped being able to bring water on planes. So we spent 17 hours on the plane, most of it sitting on the tarmac, trying to get to Heathrow. Things were chaos, and like our whole trip just kind of got thrown off. And again, still one of our favorite trips. But when we got to Ireland, we rented a car and we didn't pay for the GPS. And this was before smartphones, so we didn't have GPS. We had like maps and what I found very early on is that the maps listed like the roads by route number. And when you were on the roads, the signs would have the route number, but you'd have to like fish through them. There'd be like Gaelic and then English. There was all this jargon, it felt like, before you got to the route number. So it was hard to like match map with sign and figure out where you were. And the people didn't seem to use the route numbers or the street names. They really knew like, take a turn at Bob's barn, but I didn't know Bob, so I didn't know where his barn was or which barn was Bob's. And so we were comically laughing. Sometimes we got frustrated, but most of the time we were laughing at how ridiculous this was. Because I kid you not, we spent 2 hours lost in Ireland every day, trying to get wherever we were trying to get or to our bed and breakfast. And this one night we were trying to get to a bed and breakfast. We couldn't find it. We pulled into a gas station. And they didn't just give me directions. They drew me a map. They're like, on the first rotary, you take the second exit. On the second rotary, you take the second exit. I don't remember. Then you take a right at the castle and a left at the water, and you'll see it on your right or whatever. And so we're following these directions, and we don't see a castle, and there's a kind of a rock wall, and we're like, could this be the castle? And then there's some water, but like not what he described. We follow these directions to a T, and I kid you not, we wind up back at the gas station. And so I go inside, and I'm a little embarrassed, but I'm like, I don't know what we did wrong. Like, is the stone wall the castle? And they're kind of like, well, it used to be a castle. We have lots of castles in Ireland. I'm like, all right. And I was like, is this the water? And his response to me is like, we're an island. You'll always eventually hit water, which wasn't the most helpful comment. And so Matt and I go off with some clarity, and we try it again. Second exit. But what we realized this time, because now we're kind of like, we do a lap through the rotary. The first rotary has 5 exits, not 4. So we follow these directions to a T again and wind up at the gas station once again. Now I'm mortified. It takes all I can do to go back in and talk to them, but I have no choice. Like, we can't figure it out. And so I go in and I'm like, okay, we're back. Could it be that the first rotary has 5 exits? Like, what are you counting as the second exit? And his response is, well, nobody counts the first exit on the rotary. That's a service road exit, which we again didn't know. So needless to say, in all our travels since, if we can't use our phones, Matt and I pay extra for the GPS that comes with the car, which has been helpful. Except in Namibia, where it just added some comic relief because we had a driver who always knew where he was going. He didn't need GPS, but he'd always put GPS on anyway. GPS would always give the wrong directions. I mean, in fairness to this guy, we could tell because it would be like, take a right, and there would be no road. There'd be a mountain, like, or a dune, or like you couldn't take a right. And so it was constantly giving him the wrong directions, and he was constantly frustrated by the GPS, and he would talk to her. He'd go, lady, no, I can't take a right. Lady, what are you talking about? Come on, lady, that's not how you go. And I just kept thinking, why doesn't he turn off the GPS? He doesn't need it, but instead, lady, no, That's not the way. So anyway, it made for some amusing parts of our car ride. As always, have a wonderful day and keep